they tried less and less as every film went on to keep continuity. So like the first one, fine, whatever, it's the first one that establishes
you don't have
the
to keep
standard.
continuity when there's one movie. Yeah.
The second one, it's like, oh, we actually visited like thousands of years ago, and they play it a little fast and loose in some parts, but overall, nothing really feels contradictory. Third one, the moon landing stuff feels like more people should have been aware of it, but I never felt like it was truly breaking down.
I did. I really did strongly.
The third one was where it immediately fell apart for me. Yeah.
I think the third one is where like the foundation was starting to give,
because
but I could accept it.
Where remember when he was promoting his book, Codename Hero, John Turturro's character, and Shia calls him, and there's a line exactly in the movie that he says, "What if I told you I knew a 50-year-old ancient alien secret?" And he's like, "Oh, hot ticket, whatever. I can't wait to hear about that." It's like, who gives a fuck? They were here in pyramid times. What do you mean 50-year-old alien secret?
Yeah.
Oh, the moon landing. Who gives a shit? They made the pyramids out of energon machines. Why would you care about who went to the moon for when?
That, and if we're only talking about story continuity, yes. But in all three of those movies, the Transformers bleed and get hurt different.
That's true, too. But more so like to
other ways of
to like when they showed up and Revenge of the Fallen, the movie before that one, but after the first one was when he's like, oh, they visited this planet once before. It's like,
once.
Wow. Oh yeah.
Once.
Oh
Once.
boy.
And now the planet is a Transformer.
I think their excuse is like, oh, well, you see, the people who visited in the fourth and fifth ones, they're not Transformers. Yes, they fucking are.
They're robots.
They're
It's a
Quintessons or
dinosaur.
whatever.
They
They're
all
fucking
transform.
Transformers.
They all transform.
Yeah.
They're fucking Transformers. Don't tell me they're not Transformers.
Yep.
Don't try to tell me that they're like a different race or something,
Nope.
but then they have the exact same power set and the exact same designs. It's
Yep.
like you're not fooling anyone.
Yeah.
I just want to, I'm going to, not a big rant. I'm not even going to get mad. I might get a little mad. I do want to say, Mud, when you said they didn't try to keep continuity, each movie they tried less and less in general. The writing got worse and lazier. Everything, the effects, the editing, the directing even felt worse. The aspect ratio changes, fucking puke, dude. Oh my God. Everything as the series evolves gets worse. And that being said, the first one's not good. Like,
No.
it's not a good movie, but at least it's some, like, I would be like, okay, at least there's something here. It's really, really bad when we've just watched 5 movies and collectively, what did I give the first one? A 4, right?
Something.
I gave it a 4. Collectively, these 5 movies average out to less than 1.
Yeah, because of all the zeros.
Like, the second one's writing is atrocious because it was written during the writer's strike. You really think if it wasn't written during the writer's strike, it'd be written better? You heard 3, right? You heard the dialogue in 3.
You heard the dialogue in this
In
one, right?
4 and in 5, the dialogue's bad in all of them. Even 1 doesn't have good dialogue. Like, it only gets worse. And after 3, they get rid of Sam Witwicky for objectively worse actor Mark Wahlberg.
And Cade Yeager.
And Hugo Weaving doesn't return for objectively worse Megatron that doesn't even show up. Like,
I don't think Frank Welker's worse Megatron.
no, but his
Neither
character
of them
doesn't.
are
His
great.
character doesn't show up anymore. So like, Megatron's written worse. I don't think Frank Welker does bad because Frank Welker's a legend.
Frank
You know
Welker
what I mean?
is Megatron.
Frank Welker's a legend.
The problem is, well, not the problem, but one of the big problems is like, it's really hard to blame Paramount, the studio behind everything, because the first one made 700 million worldwide, the next one 8, the next one 1.1 billion, the next one 1.1 again billion.
And then this one made what, 6 to 7?
No, it's 605. It's
Oh,
like crap.
just 6. Okay.
And then they stopped making more. And then they made Bumblebee, but that's like a spinoff. But like, they stopped because it stopped making money. So yes, the movies are terrible, but like every time Bay made one of these fucking movies, until this one, obviously, the audience rewarded him with more money. So he kept doing his dumb shit over and over. No matter how bad the Rotten Tomatoes got, no matter how annoyed we all got, they kept making it. And I can't blame them from a business perspective because that's actually somewhat smart, even though it's really annoying.
I will never blame them from a business perspective. When you make $1 billion, you don't go, I don't want to make another $1 billion.
Yep.
I think Paramount, especially not being a major studio, I don't think they're a major studio.
No.
They're the worst of the worst if they are. I can't be like, oh, Paramount, what a fucking heavy hitter with all their good franchises. They had something that rivaled the biggest studios and went, this is our ticket into that top percentage.
I mean,
That being said, this is the worst major franchise in all of Hollywood. It's this and Fast and Furious for me, and it's probably not even close. I
Both are
can't even-
rewarded with a lot of money.
Yeah, both are rewarded with a lot of money.
like it's proof that like
Like-
the general, the larger movie going mass is just there for like really really shit comedy and effects.
I think the Hollywood pandering to the Chinese market is a big issue with both of those franchises. In the last two of these movies, you notice the Hong Kong area,
I think it's also
brought
like
up a
you
ton-
know
like especially the fourth one. The last fight was in China for no reason.
fights are a universal language, so you don't have
Yep.
to worry about like dubbing or like
Yeah.
subtitling. Like you can just put a 20-minute action sequence on screen with like minimal dialogue.
And it's like, oh, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get frustrated that we can't like connect to any of the dialog
Mm-hmm.
or the characters, but think about it as like the perspective of like a foreign
Yeah.
person watching this film who doesn't speak English, and the theater they went to didn't bother to subtitle it or
Yeah.
dub it.
Yo,
It's like,
honestly,
I can't understand them, but it doesn't really matter because
Big robot fight.
explosions.
If I didn't speak English and I watched like a dub or a subtitled version of this movie,
I'd still hate it.
I think I'd enjoy it more.
I still hate it.
Being an English-speaking man, understanding all of the bad dialogue really hurt.
Well, okay. But
you could dub this movie and have them say whatever the fuck you want.
that's
There
true.
you go. And
One
there's
of-
your animated movie you want to talk about.
But some of these big criticisms I have is the Chinese film market doesn't have nearly as much budget in a lot of their films. So these effects are impressive, even if they look like ass compared to the other Transformers movies. And a lot of it, you guys know the last few top grossing Chinese films that ended up topping worldwide charts were propaganda. So it makes sense that these big budget films make big money over there.
Mhm.
Like it's something new and refreshing and not super restrictive. Like it makes sense. That being said, for American audiences, I think this is just drivel. Like I could shit on a piece of paper and it would probably be more interesting than this. And I'm barely joking.
It's tough because like the only film that we've gotten where someone behind the director's chair and writer's chair actually tried to make a good movie is Bumblebee,
Mhm.
and that's it.
I do not even Transformers 1, I do not think Michael Bay went into that thinking he made a good movie.
I agree. I think all the mainline Transformers movies, everyone behind the scenes did not want to make a good movie. They just wanted to make something that'll make a fuckload of money at the box office, and they
Yep.
did actually 4 times out of 5.
The thing is, these movies all feel heartless.
I think for the first at least 2, maybe the first 3, I think what Michael Bay wanted to do was make like a special effects extravaganza. I think he was like, if the special effects have come so far and I just want to push them to their limits.
Yep.
But after that, he stopped caring and that fell by the wayside. So like
Even the special effects, yeah.
even the praise you could lump on for special effects, it went away
Yeah.
past like the second one, I think, in my personal opinion. The third one,
3 has some hit or miss stuff, but I think it's mostly good. 4 is atrocious. 5's atrocious. Because 3, the special effects aren't bad. It's just there's too much shit happening on screen.
it's too busy. A lot
Yeah.
of the scenes are just way too busy.
Like 1, the special effects and the sound editing in 1 are really good. Both of those things suffer in 2. The sound editing, especially. I think only the first one has good sound editing.
I agree.
Also, what really pisses me off, we're talking about like how like the visual effects here were just really underwhelming. They reused the model for Shockwave as a different character.
Yeah,
They reused a lot of
Nitro
models.
Zeus.
They reuse models all the time.
Yeah.
I've been browsing the Transformers wiki specifically for this film, and there's like whole pages dedicated to like this is a different Transformer from Bone Crusher, but it's got the exact same model as Bone Crusher, even though Bone Crusher died in the last one.
Mud,
It's like, that's
last
so
movie,
stupid.
all of the villains, they were modeled after the Transformers. Bumblebee and, not Bumblebee.
Stinger.
The pink one. Stinger, thank you. I almost
Better
said,
than Bumblebee in
I almost
every
said
way.
Stingray, but that's the name of one of the cars.
It's like the visual effects artists again with like Shockwave's head were like, I wonder if anyone will notice.
We did.
Fucking well, I mean, I
You
pointed
did.
it out, but like other than that, like I don't think the general audience, like 99% of them didn't give a shit.
No, of course not, because it's big, dumb robot shit, and the screen's too busy to notice anyway.
So we're basically telling them with our dollar and facts and stuff that basically that whatever they do, they can get by with the bare minimum.
You can take the simplest, laziest, most corner-cutted route, and we will accept it.
Yep. Like the biggest thing is too, when they got rid of Shia LaBeouf, they went quote quote star power instead of good actor. They didn't hire Mark Wahlberg because he was a good actor. No fucking way. People like him for some reason. That's why he got hired. He's a marketable guy for some reason.
Dads like him, like the strong guy dads.
I
are
know.
like,
I know people our age who say he's good.
I don't know these people.
I mean, he's good in some movies.
He's got good movies, but like I wouldn't overall say he's a good actor.
There are movies where he does not perform the worst performance. I think he's really funny in The Other Guys. It's a comedy, so he's not groundbreaking or anything, but he's
No,
not
but, like,
cringy
the other guys
and
is freaking hilarious.
he's not cringy and annoying like he is in most of his movies. Jake, I will say, probably if I watch Boogie Nights, I'm not gonna fucking despise him. Like even Shia LaBeouf,
Hulk.
Pieces of a Woman. He's kind of bland, but he's not atrocious in that movie. Like
yeah, no, I can't think of a fantastic Shia performance out of
I
any of
like
his stuff.
Holes.
Holes is okay, but I don't think
It's one of his
on,
earlier films, though.
It doesn't
so-
hinge
It doesn't
on his
hinge on him.
performance.
Like,
you know,
I don't like actors, and I say they are bad, but every actor probably has a good performance. Most actors, I can't say every actor, because, there's going to be the outlier. But, like, he's atrocious. They didn't hire him because he's like, oh, my God, he's so good in this movie. Like, he's so good in Spencer Confidential 9 years from now.
I mean,
Like-
it's the same reason that they got frickin' The Rock for Fast and Furious. You don't get him because he's a good actor. You get him
Yep.
because he's marketable.
Marketable.
And, like-
Vin Diesel, really?
The muscle shirt dudes who love Fast and Furious movies love The Rock.
They love Vin Diesel, too. Jason Statham,
Yeah.
same thing. Statham, The Rock. The Rock's getting better. I actually think he is really good.
The Rock at least pretends he curates his roles.
He's really good in Jumanji and Tumanji.
Jungle Cruise actually looks pretty interesting.
Yeah. Out of all these actors, like Anthony Hopkins does a good job. The voice work in this movies, I hate to like put people on blast for voice work, but John Goodman does not give a fuck about
No, he
these
doesn't.
movies.
Like he's just recording B-roll. So
Like-
is Steve Buscemi. Like they don't know these characters aren't anything to them.
Optimus Prime, I'm convinced you can have anybody do that voice.
I'm convinced.
It's monster mode.
I am convinced that Peter Cullen maybe did 20 minutes of new voice work for this film, and everything else is just recycled stuff from the previous films.
Remember when we were watching the Leonard Nimoy one, and I'm like, he sounds just like Optimus. It's the same effect. You could have any person. You don't need to spend the voice acting budget for these films if you're doing that. I'm shocked they do, because these films are the laziest pieces of garbage. Like, these really cost $200 million. Like the last two did. They look like $40 million films with CG. They really do. Deadpool, too, looks better. Deadpool, like $45 million budget or some shit, look better than this. And there's decent CG in those movies. Like, I don't understand how this film franchise. I'm really glad it's over, by the way. Thank fucking God.
It's not over.
No. Bumblebee is not in this.
Bumblebee has its problems.
Yeah, oh yeah, we'll talk about it. But like this main series franchise, I am so glad that they haven't announced anything. They haven't said anything. Nothing. Because if I had to sit through another one of these, I'm actually upset. Like thinking about it, I'm almost in tears. These movies are so like pandering, and they're for the dumbest of the dumb. I shit you not. These movies, The Pentagon, Mud.
I know it said the
Like,
Pentagon.
things like that, where the script, it's so condescending
I'd like to ask a
to
question.
have a script writer write that into a movie.
I'd like to ask a question here. Like, what human is this movie made for?
Michael Bay.
The Last Night specifically. Is it for only Michael Bay?
I think so.
No, because he hated working on this one.
Did he?
Is there a human that this is for?
Because after he said this was gonna be his last one, I believe. After this,
He did, but I don't know that translation to hatred.
I'm having very similar theatrical cut of Justice League. I know it's 2017 as well.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm having very similar vibes to that, where it's like it's not for anyone. If you like the Zack Snyder movies, you're not going to like it. And if you don't like them, you're probably not going to like it anyway, because it's not like movies that are good.
Well-
So is this movie? I mean, I like the first Transformers movie. I was a kid then, and I fucking hate this piece of shit. But even if I didn't, I think I'd watch this and still hate it.
Justice League, when it came out, that was for the corporation. You know, that was for those guys who got a bonus for putting that film out on time. You know, I don't know if that's the exact same story here, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's more to this than meets the eye in terms of background corporate stuff going on. Like, you have to put this movie out. Like, they don't give a shit. That is a fact. No one in this has any idea what Transformers is about,
Yeah.
what it's supposed to be like. No one knows any of these characters. Like,
the writers have no fucking idea.
they don't.
Mud, how many times in any of the animated stuff does Optimus Prime say, "I will kill you"?
Zero.
Like violently too.
Oh my God, but it's
It's his catchphrase.
so funny. Every time he says it, like, It's a joke on the Transformers fan base that like the movie Optimus is just like a goddamn psychopath.
Can I pose a question for you guys? Jake, you brought up the Zack Snyder thing. Zack Snyder's style, there are people who like it. Michael Bay style, does anybody really like that?
Yes, absolutely. There are people who like Michael Bay's style.
Really?
Okay, so
yeah,
let me,
I'm not saying that it's a good style.
let me
but
go
like,
off that for a second. He made movies before Transformers.
He did.
I would argue that most of those are good movies.
People
No.
love The Rock.
People like The Rock. Pearl Harbor's bad.
Okay,
Everyone
okay.
hates Pearl Harbor,
Yeah,
but that's not
You got me there.
very
yeah.
Michael Bay.
That's like Transformers 1 Michael Bay.
You got me there.
Like,
Pearl Harbor's pretty bad.
Pearl Harbor is bad.
But I will say things like The Island with Ewan McGregor is actually pretty good. He did the first Bad Boys, which I still think is the best Bad Boys movie.
He did all of them, didn't he?
He
No,
did the
he
first
only
two.
did one.
He only did the first two? Okay.
Yeah. Now, so granted, the part 2 is the worst Bad Boys movie, which he also did. So,
I've
granted,
only seen the bridge sequence from that film, and I was just like, "What in the Sam?"
it's so
fuck?
weird. It's so weird.
Like they're just throwing cars on the road. I'm like, this is not a.
Keep that man away from a sequel, dear God. And I know, again, they're rewarded with money, so they keep hiring Michael Bay. But if we got anyone else in the director's chair,
Wow.
I think you could have made something maybe like intelligible that could have kept the franchise interesting at some point and not done the same shit. Because The Last Night does every single thing that Revenge of the Fallen did, in the sense that the Transformers did all of human history, A. B, you got annoying side characters. C, you have new Autobots that don't mean anything and don't go anywhere after this movie. You have all kinds of the shit that made those old movies so annoying that are just still here. And it feels like Revenge of the Fallen Part 7.
What really pisses me off is now that I've seen them all. Like I've only seen the original trilogy before we started this. Now that I've seen them all and I know more context, it really bothers me a lot that these movies are just a worse version of the show that Alex Kurtzman made.
Yep.
Transformers Prime. I'm not even kidding. So many plot points in these movies, Earth being Unicron, a bunch of Transformers artifacts on Earth, all that shit, those are plot points. The Dinobots, all of that are plot points in Transformers Prime, 1-to-1 almost. And there's five Autobots. Like it's like I feel like Transformers Prime is like what Alex Kurtzman and Robert Orci, I believe, wanted these movies to be. It blows my mind because Transformers Prime is just like infinitely better. It mirrors the movies in such an eerie way.
And speaking of mirroring things that are better, the movies are very, and like most Hollywood movies, but they're very like copycat-esque to other types of movies. Like, for example, The Last Night, it's trying to cinematic universe shit by tying everything together and spinning off Bumblebee a movie
Got
later.
like a 10-minute Suicide Squad sequence.
10-minute
Yep.
Suicide Squad sequence. It's trying to be the next Marvel/DC thing. It's veering more on the side of DC than Marvel, but it's really weird to me that they're not just the whole point that Marvel is successful is because it doesn't copy anyone. They're doing their own fucking thing. Why don't they do their own fucking thing?
Marvel also has distinct characters.
Yeah.
Aside from Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, Megatron, and I guess like
That's it.
no, I could probably pick out Drift in a crowd. Those are the only Transformers at this point I know.
Really? Racist samurai robot?
Yeah.
The very concept of a cinematic universe around one show that isn't a bunch of shows tying together in certain events.
Yeah.
It's one series. It's one thing. Okay, so like a cinematic universe would be if Transformers, all the Hasbros came together, like G.I. Joe
Yeah.
and fucking Gem and the Holograms.
I think
those are separate things.
I
that
think
could
that's the
come
problem
together.
a lot of people don't understand about the idea of making a cinematic universe is like, yeah, the Marvel Cinematic Universe ties all these characters together, but you got to remember, Iron Man has his own supporting cast, Black Panther has his own supporting cast, Captain America has his own supporting cast, so it blows my mind when they're like, we're giving Patrick Star a spinoff. It's like, he still only ever interacts with the characters in SpongeBob. He doesn't have his own, like, supporting cast to go along with them. the reason that Marvel is so successful is because they have years and decades
Source material.
of source material. You know, like Black Panther was a solo comic for so long that they can just pull all these characters. They don't have to make up this new cast of characters to spin them off.
No,
It's
and you
all
can even
there.
add your existing characters there to make it fucking interesting.
Exactly. So that's what I mean when they're like, oh, we're going to give Bumblebee a spin-off movie. It's like, why? He's still just going to be fighting the Decepticons
Yeah.
and working with Optimus. Like,
That's not true. He fights John Cena.
whatever. The idea of cinematic universing one universe doesn't work. It has to be something that has like made up of smaller components that in themselves can work on their own.
I hate to give the Dark Universe any credit, and I'm not really, but the Universal monsters are that.
Yeah.
They are all separate. They all have their discernible characters. They all have their discernible stories. They all have different things about them that make them unique.
Jekyll and Hyde has a different supporting cast than Dracula has a different supporting cast than
Yep.
Frankenstein has a
Yep.
different supporting cast than the Mummy.
Bumblebee and Optimus Prime have the same supporting cast because they are part of the same team.
Yeah.
If you make a Megatron movie, you know who the bad guy probably is?
Optimus Prime.
In every episode of Transformers, the classic show had Optimus and Bumblebee interacting together because they're part of the exact same protagonist group.
Yep.
There's no there was never a Bumblebee show or medium or movie or book. I don't fucking read every book.
It's like if you made like a Scooby-Doo cinematic universe and we're like, we're going to spin off Daphne. It's like, who the fuck is she going to interact with?
Velma and Daphne. They tried, Mud.
They did that.
They
They-
did
Oh, guess
that.
what? Velma, one of the characters from the show. It's like she doesn't have her own cast to play off of. She's part of an ensemble.
Yes, but if you went into like an Old Man Jenkins show or some shit
From
with his-
SpongeBob, yeah.
No, I was thinking from Scooby Doo.
I didn't know there was an old
Yeah,
Man
no,
Jenkins
there's
in Scooby-Doo,
Old Man
too.
Jenkins is a very popular thing for some reason. Like where he has a different family and cast of characters. Like I guess, but why?
He's only interesting in relation to
Yes.
like Patrick Starr's only interesting because he's on SpongeBob. Like he's a support to SpongeBob's
In these Transformers
character.
movies, if you tried to do Josh Duhamel the movie, where he fucking goes out with his army buddies,
He's
and
gonna
there's
fight Decepticons.
nothing about Transformers, right? You just make it a war movie.
That's so fucking terrible.
Like, yeah, sure, I guess it's a character that doesn't interact, but is he interesting enough to warrant his own thing? None of the Transformers in this universe are interesting.
No,
None of them, after the first one, none of them are discernible from each other.
Bumblebee's the only one that can carry a
That's
spin-off
why they made
because Bumblebee is the lead in a lot of other supplemental material, so people are familiar with them. There's only so many Transformers that are consistent across all mediums that they're like able to just be universally recognized, and I'd really say it's just Bumblebee and Optimus Prime.
I agree. I think the only two that are names about the Transformers series, besides Megatron himself, is probably Optimus and Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And fun fact, freezing cold take, Optimus Prime's not the main Transformer in these movies, it's B.
It's B. It's Bumblebee.
Also,
B is the main
like,
Transformer.
True, however, you can't spin off Optimus Prime the movie because all five have kind of been Optimus Prime the movie.
He is the main focus, but he's not the main Transformer.
No, I agree with
It's
Ian.
B.
I'd love to watch an Optimus Prime spinoff. I'll kill you a Transformers film.
Oh my god, that sounds so good.
I'll kill
Oh.
you, a Transformers story.
Yeah.
And then who? Your other third bankable character, Megatron. Whoa, you're gonna make a fucking Megatron movie? Fuck out of here.
The only thing you could do that would be interesting with him is the struggle between him and Starscream.
Yeah.
That doesn't
and they don't
exist.
do that in this movie.
They
Like,
tried.
They do nothing with. They did not try. Starscream is the most loyal whipped dog in these films. He never tries to overthrow Megatron. And honestly, like Starscream is always one of the more compelling Transformers to me. I've watched a couple different, Transformers shows.
Yeah.
Starscream's always my favorite because he's just always like
He's such a bitch.
he's such a bitch.
It's weird. There's a scene in this movie where he holds the head of Starscream and goes, "Oh, farewell, my treacherous friend. You were a good ally."
He
or whatever.
never once tried to
Never
betray him.
once.
The Transformers only work as like complementary pieces to each other. You can't spin off Ironhide and
What does
give him
he
his
do?
own movie. He doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
Like, I know we joked about Ironhide being cool in the first one, but like that's his own personality trait. Is he's kind of cool and he's got guns and he's aggressive. Like you can't turn that into a movie.
Barricade disappears and dies like 4 times. But Barricade, like how he works with bad humans, I guess. But like even then, you're still relating it to the main characters.
Barricade's primary personality trait is that he turns into a cop car.
Also, on top of that, too, look at Barricade. Let's say, I don't know, I'm an executive somewhere, and I'm like, I want to spin off a Barricade movie because I want to make some fucking money or whatever. Okay, what version? What are you going to do? The one where he dies in the first movie, or he dies in the third movie? Are you going to do the dies in the fifth movie, or dies in the fourth movie?
Brass-knuckled version in
Brass
this one that's got like the
knuckled this
Judge Dredd necklace. and
Yup,
it's
like, you want to do
No,
that
Dreadlock
version?
was a different one.
Are you going to say it's a different version of Barricade? Why are you even spinning him off? It's not a spin-off, it's a new character.
Come
They
on.
would have to do. Hasbro would have to do a Hasbro universe with their
G.I. Joe?
properties. Yeah, because G.I. Joe. But even then, all right, Cobra is gonna try to destroy the planet. They have to fight a giant robot car man. Really?
So I'm just gonna add this in terms of continuity. I know I'm circling back.
That good.
So in the first film, we had 5 Autobots and maybe like 7 or 8 Decepticons.
Sure.
Now at this point, the only Autobots left from the first film are Optimus and Bumblebee. And this film actually pretty well establishes the only Decepticons left from the first film are Megatron and Barricade. They could have set up Barricade and Bumblebee being equal rivals as Optimus and Megatron, because when you think about it, Barricade's the first Transformer that Bumblebee fights.
You're right.
Barricade's integral to the first film's plot in so many different ways. There could have been a story in here, like a C or D list story about Bumblebee and Barricade, but there isn't because they don't care.
Mud, I would like to point out, Barricade and Megatron don't really interact after like the second one or the third one.
Yeah, but then then Barricade's like his best friend in this film. It would be interesting at all to like establish Barricade as just like, he's just a Decepticon grunt. But by the fifth one, because they've lost so many, Barricade's Megatron's right-hand man, that's a character arc right there.
No, Mud, you can't do character arcs in Transformers movies. Mark Wahlberg feels like a different character from his character last movie.
He feels like Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
He feels more like Shia LaBeouf.
because-
Last one in 4, I don't think they went as bad with like the Shia LaBeouf-isms.
He had the
but, like,
mannerisms, but it was a different character.
I think they tried a little more to rewrite it from being Sam Witwicky, but in this one they were just like, I think
Witwickian.
they already had the script for 5 written as well, and instead of actually rewriting it, they just scratched out where it said Sam and just wrote Cade.
Do you think a lot of this is because when Michael Bay makes sequels, he just evolves it into the exact same type of character?
I think it's because Michael Bay only knows how to write and direct. Well, he didn't write these.
Michael Bay only knows how to direct himself.
That'd be funny if that was actually him. Oh yeah.
Because in real, like, people have said, like, he's kind of like weird around people.
Well, like, one of the biggest deals to me in all these movies is, and I think it was the third one. Yeah, it was the third one, where Sam is getting like fucked over by the army guys, and B bails him out and saves him.
And then
he's
he
like,
immediately starts
"Hey,
bitching
Bowie,
at B.
what the fuck you doing? Hey, fucking come here. Why don't we hang out? You should feel bad about it. You should feel bad about it."
Yep.
Dude, he saved you.
Yep.
And you're telling him that
You're
you
telling
should
him
feel
off.
bad about it. Like that kind of mentality of like this incredibly ungrateful piece of shit that carries over and through not just through LaBeouf's trilogy. I used to think it was just those 3 LaBeouf movies. No, it's Mark Wahlberg's character as well, because I think Michael Bay inherently wants to make his lead character like that. I don't know why.
It's him.
It's him. I'm telling you. Because people are like, hey, he's kind of a weird dude. He doesn't really know how to interact with people.
So
Like-
you think these are $200 million projections?
Yes. I swear to God. People... I've seen reports from people he's worked with, and he's like, yeah, he's kind of like weird. Like, he's really good at bossing people around on set, but when it comes to like talking to him, he's like quiet. Like, that's what these characters are. When it comes to like their confidence and bossing
Jake,
people.
you said that in the first film. Like, he's oddly confident when he's like trying to like force his way through something, but when he's just trying to interact with people, he's so awkward.
I think this is... I don't want to project. I don't want to say, Michael Bay, you're a bad fucking guy. You probably are, but like, I don't want to insinuate it. You know, Megan Fox fucking hates you. You filmed the 14-year-old's titties, but like, that's all I can see is from the reports and from what's happened with everything going around with him. I think that these characters are very him.
Yeah. Yeah, something in him wants to do this.
He doesn't write them, but he projects himself a lot into
Yes.
these films.
Because fun fact, you don't have to write it when you're directing your actors to act. you can say how they should be doing it.
Also, I know that he doesn't write them, but he's definitely got like a
He
hand
has a
in
hand.
there.
He has a dick in the pot.
I really
100%. It can't be a hand. The hands are too clean.
I really don't think. Obviously, Revenge of the Fallen was affected by it, but I don't think the writers' strike really had much to do with how bad that movie was.
No.
No.
I really
No.
don't.
Because then you watch 3. I said this earlier. You watch 3 after, and you're like, okay, it's still bad. And you watch 4, and you're like, this is worse writing than 2.
Yeah, like I'm sure, like at the time, everyone was like, "Wow, I can't believe the writer's strike caused part 2 to be so terrible." Like, no,
Yeah, it was the writer's strike. Wink.
wink. Yeah, that's the
God.
reason.
Before Michael Bay directed movies, he wasn't directing like short films, or he wasn't working on stuff before. He directed music videos.
That, funnily enough, explains a lot.
These do feel like those.
Like very, very rapid cuts and just jarring.
It's frustrating to watch. Like, try and watch this film. It's like it.
I actually have a headache.
It keeps like knocking you out of your own movie.
Yeah.
Even if I'm trying to get invested into
The
this
worst
world.
thing a movie can do is take me out of the movie.
That's
And,
really
like,
hard for you,
aspect
too.
ratio changes do that for me. Quick punch-ins do that to me.
Mhm.
Like awkward lighting does that to me. Like anything that makes me aware of the fact that I'm watching a movie, it hinders the experience for me because I just become so self-aware sitting in the theater being like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm sitting in a dark room with like, or pre-COVID, maybe 100 or so people just staring at a screen.
Yeah.
And one of the things for Mud is, I know Mud's uncanny valley is non-existent. Or not non-existent, but it's very difficult for you to go, oh, that takes me out of it. That looks fake.
You guys will be like, oh my god, that's so fake, and I'm like, that looks fine.
The talisman going on Mark Wahlberg's body, awful.
It looked awkward, and like the shot where it's going in his pants to like jerk him off or whatever, that looked weird because the way it was interacting with the cloth. But when it was just like crawling around his skin, I didn't
could
mind
tell.
it.
I could tell that was an effect. There are things where I know it's effects, but I'm still like, okay, see, it looks passable, so I'm not mad at it,
Yeah.
or I'm not distracted by it. I try not to let things like that distract me too often. And in these movies, 4 and 5 especially, every single scene distracted me. I knew I was watching a movie.
I'm gonna close this out for me personally.
Okay.
I have one compliment to give this film.
Oh yeah,
The first hour and 50 minutes that is Act 1 breezes by. Like, I felt like we went to fucking Plaid, and before I knew it, it was final fight time.
all right.
I think that's because nothing actually happened in this film.
I do want to give the movie no compliment, dude. I feel like I'm still watching this movie.
That being said, 0. I definitely hate Age of Extinction more, though.
The main difference between 4 and 5 is both of the effects in the movies are bad. Mark Wahlberg's bad in both of them. The supporting cast is bad in both of them. I think in 4 the supporting cast is more annoying, and in 5 the supporting cast just isn't in the movie. I think 5 has worse editing.
4 has the Romeo and Juliet clause scene.
Oh, and the writing is so bad in both of them.
Let me hit you back.
But 5 has like literal pedophilia.
Yeah, 5 has Isabelle Monet at the age of very, very young being filmed like she's sexy.
Okay, right now
She did have a very
right now
open
she's
top.
19. When the movie came out 4 years ago, she would have been either 15 or 16.
And when she filmed it, she was either 15 or 14.
Yup.
Oh my god.
That first scene that we see her running with Mark Wahlberg, I was like, what the fuck? How old is she?
Also, like, who is the movie for? Small children? Is it supposed to be like a protagonist for them?
Absolutely
Is
not.
that what's happening?
No way. These movies are not for kids.
What kid would want
I'll
to watch
kill
this?
you.
Yeah, what kid would
what
want to
kid?
watch this fucking movie series? What is this, the Best and Worst Pictures podcast? We've been going on for a while, huh?
Yeah, I think we've been talking for over a
But
half
this
hour.
is the end of the main series. Bumblebee has different issues, different writers, different people behind
Bumblebee's
it.
just so different that I don't think having the end talk during that would make sense.
That's why I asked you guys if we want to do the end talk now. This is the main series. Like, this is the end of an era of dog shit Transformers films.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to talk about these as a whole now. I do not know why you would listen to me rant for 15 straight minutes about Transformers and then go, man, you know what? He hates this. I'm watching it. Like, there was venom in those words.
Yeah.
This time I'm calm because I'm not calm. I'm mad.
I would say you're quasi burnt out.
You're so angry you've come full circle and you're
Yeah.
calm.
Accepting grief.
I've accepted the grief that I've had to watch, 14 hours? It feels like 3,000 hours. Where the collective score is a 0.8 or something. That's so bad. Imagine
worst.
watching 5 movies and ranking them all 0.
We did.
We
We
did
watched the
that!
Scorpion Kings.
No. We
Yes,
did.
yes, yes.
This is the second time.
This is the second time. this
Oh my
happened.
God! Why do we do this to ourselves?
Jake did this to us.
I
You're
did
right.
this to us this
Jake,
time.
you gotta stop.
The Monster Thon was a collective. This is Jake.
I feel like I'm goofy. I'll fucking do it again.
Dude, you know what? You guys already had the Monster-thon well underway by the time I joined the channel.
You still
Yeah.
had to watch the Scorpion King.
I
idiot.
did still have to watch the Scorpion Kings.
I remember when we watched Abbott Meets Frankenstein, and you were like, "Hey, I'll join you for the Abbott and Costello movies."
Oh, God.
That was voluntary.
The Abbott and Costello Frankenstein was funny.
Yeah.
He's got that one line where he's like, "Look in the mirror. Why should I hurt my own feelings?"
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff in there. And then you're like,
Okay.
"I'll watch them all."
And
they
then we
were
watched the
fucking
second
awful.
one.
And you were like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
okay.
let's pull it in.
Transformers, the main series, is over.
It's bad,
That being said, we still have one more movie.
but it's a good one. So, final out of 10s.
0.
We already
0.
gave it all out of 10.
0.
Fresh 10 out of 10.
Oh, that's it.
0.
I know you edit these, but Jake with a big happy face holding up a fucking 10. Optimus Prime diving from the top of the pool.